I don't know why this is the day, but this is the day that, this has been chosen to happen. And so I believe I got cut off at the time. I was telling you just the story of how you got to get connected. I was telling you some of the strategies are out there. So strategy number one is be the quarterback. Strategy number two is evaluate the people that you know. You've got to be willing to look at the people that you know with a serious and critical eye and ask yourself the question: what do I know about them? How do I understand them to generate any interest or input or any kind of technical strategy? Do they have the time, the talent, the treasure that I could possibly use or leverage to create what I need to do? You need to give that some serious thought and some serious evaluation. Don't just go, oh, this is my pal, this is my buddy, and that's enough. It's not enough. You need to have people around you who are capable of things that you are not capable of. And they're capable at a high level, even higher than you, maybe, even if it's the same genre. But you need to surround yourself with people who are capable of understanding what it is that you need to do to create what you need to create. And I want you to know Hi guys. StreamYard usually never lets me down like this, which is, I don't understand what's going on with the process or what's going on with the internet connection. But we're gonna try this one more time, and if it doesn't work, I'm just gonna cancel the show and keep this party going some other kind of way, because I don't want you guys to sit around and tolerate this. This is intolerable. So we're off on number three. Number three in the seven strategies is knowing what you like about you. You've got to find a way to express your true self, your real energy. You know, it's not about faking it till you make it here. This is about really understanding what you bring to the table and who you bring it to the table for. I was with a group of people today, and I was asking them, what are the benefits of working with you? You need to be able to articulate that exceptionally well all the time. And you need to enjoy those benefits yourself. If you don't enjoy what you do, you don't enjoy who you are, how you're presenting yourself, you're not going to bring your best foot forward. And that's going to show. It's going to show that you're uncomfortable. It's going to show that you're not really connected to the things that you're saying and the promises that you're making or anything like that. So there are ways that you can identify opportunities for yourself and make sure that you're staying on top of the things that you say that you really want to do. Number four, you've got to look for interest bridges. You've got to look for opportunities that are out there for you to plan special moments to be together. Whether that's we're going to show up to the same event, or we're going to go to a function, we're going to do something that's going to ingratiate ourselves to one another. We're going to share books, tapes, lectures, podcasts, in a bad way or any kind of weird or freaky way. But I want you to know that The closer you get to people, the more you leverage and more understand, the more you can emotionally connect, right? The deeper that relationship is going to go, the more you're going to trust. Right? You're going to seek and get feedback often in this process of building an interest bridge. Number 5, commit to never stop doing it. Never stop being in relation. Never stop being in touch. Never stop connecting. Because once you do that, it's out of sight, out of mind. People start asking the question like Janet Jackson would ask, right? What have you done for me lately? When's the last time I saw you? You don't want that situation to happen, especially people that you want to drive connection to. If you want to be connected, you got to stay connected. Set the next date. After you have the first meeting, always set the next date. The next time you're going to be in each other's space, the next time you're going to be in each other's lives, you need to know that. Everybody needs to know that, and they need to keep those commitments, right? You need to move other things around that agenda, because when you start impeding upon the personal time that you set aside to be with someone, to talk to someone over and over and over again, they begin to feel like they don't matter anymore. And in fact, you're treating them like they don't matter anymore. And so you want to make sure that you have quality time with people that you want to build professional relationships with. You need to keep your relationships fresh. You need to make sure that you celebrate the relationship. I got a chance today, somebody that I just met for the first time, and he shared with me that he just got to a point in his life where, he feels like he has some wisdom to share. And I was like, that's party time. It's time for us to celebrate that moment where you feel like you've transitioned from I'm struggling, I'm trying to figure things out, to I've achieved a situation where I feel like I'm wise enough now to have something to give, because that's a special moment in anybody's life, right? So it's time to celebrate. But most of the time, when those things happen, when those moments happen, when you had that aha, when you had that special time, guess what? You're all by yourself, and there's nobody to play with, and there's nobody to celebrate with. It's a lonely sport being an entrepreneur, being a business leader. You want to be in a position to be able to celebrate with people around you. And I don't mean, go out and get sloppy drunk or anything like that, but an attaboy, a pat on the back, a way to go, that goes a long way to encourage relationship and encourage people to go deeper with you. That brother and I, we already cool with each other, and I know for a fact we're going to be doing stuff together simply because, we were able to build a connection around a very similar idea, a very similar concept, really, really quickly. It didn't take time. Right? I can tell you right now, we're going to be doing stuff together that's going to be amazing for both of us. It's going to be a win-win opportunity. So you have to keep that relationship fresh. Number 6, this is super important. Be careful what you pay for. When you don't have tools, the reason, the rationale, and there's nothing for them to fall in love with, except for you're in the same space and you're occupying the same space, you got a name tag on. That's not enough, right? You got to be careful about that. You cannot join a group Okay, I'm hoping this last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna get off this thing. We're gonna get the group in and see if we can keep it going. Okay, so the last part is you have to know the real benefits. When you know the benefits of what you offer, it reduces the social and emotional anxiety and risk that you have to deal with, and it also reduces loneliness. And that's super important, specifically for entrepreneurs and for leaders, because we all know leadership American style is a lonely sport. Now, let me really quickly go back because I know the internet was coming in and out on all 7 of these aspects. Number one, you got to be the quarterback, which means you're in charge of the relationship and stay in charge of the relationship. You don't want people running away from the there's strategies and techniques behind that I think are super important for you, everybody to understand. Number 4, look for interest bridges. Find ways that that you have that common interest where you can walk over, you can walk together and move in lockstep together. Right. Number 5, never stop doing it. Never stop being in a relationship. Never stop being in a situation where you can focus and help other people focus on moving forward. Moving forward. Number 6, be careful what you pay for. You cannot buy relationships. You can only buy your way into the room. And so make sure when you're in the room, you have the right strategies. And number 7, you have to know the real benefits of being in a relationship in the first place. And the real benefits are always going to be that you're going to have a high level of empathy, emotional. I Y'all, this thing was depressing me today. I'm hoping that this is the last time we ever have this issue. But in the interim, I'm going to bring everybody back on and so I just brought everybody back to the stage. Anybody have any thoughts about what we shared earlier from what you could hear?
Yeah, I like what you were saying, Coach. I'm sorry. Did any of the ladies want to go first?
No, go right ahead.
Yeah.
I think what you were talking about, deep trust, was one of the concepts that are very important, especially in the line of work that I'm in. Is that sometimes that people they want to give you just enough information, but they really don't want to give you all of the information necessary for you to help them completely. And that's
Hmm.
one of the things you really have to kind of step back is when you're dealing with new customers and understanding their fear that they don't want to tell you everything, but it's very, very important. And I know when I'm dealing with other business owners, there may be things that I may not want to provide to them. And I've noticed that it's just very, very important that trust is one of the things. One of the best salesperson that I've ever met in life, he used to talk about everything other than his product for about 45 minutes. He would tell him about his story, where he grew up. All these other had nothing to do with the product that we were selling. And it was just to kind of break the ice so that they would know who he was. And then after they knew who he was, they felt a whole lot more comfortable saying, these are the needs of my company, and this is where we feel like you can help us. So I thought that was really good on the trust aspect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think trust is extremely important. But what I also know is that from a connection standpoint, I come from serving small businesses, and one of the things that we talk a lot about is leveraging your resources, and that is all about connections. And what I find and have found over the years, the decades that I've been doing this, is that this is one area where people leave a whole lot of money on the table. So, Marvin, when you were talking earlier, you said, what is it costing you? What are your connections costing you? And if you're not intentionally developing relationships, and then also nurturing the relationships that you already have, I mean, every one of them is valuable. I call them a gift from God. Every single one of them has some value in your life. If you're leaving that on the table, then you're leaving a whole lot on the table, because a lot of your connections can open doors for you that you wouldn't be able to open on your own. So you really have to nurture those relationships and take value in those connections.
Absolutely. I'd like to jump in here and join Daniel and Lisa. Relationships is something that's extremely important to me. And connections. And I think that's all. The foundation is loving people, right? Mm-hmm. Loving people and loving their gifts or talents. And when you seek to understand people, when you seek to see their value, affirm their value, they will give it back to you, right? And my mind kind of works like an Excel spreadsheet. Once I get to know you and understand your value, you are in my immediate Rolodex. And then you add the fact, something that we all should be doing, we should be opportunists, right? Mm-hmm. And that is a negative term if used for yourself, but it is a positive term if you use it on behalf of somebody else, because that ecosystem works where it will come back to you 10 times over. If you open up it with nothing attached, right? You just give and know that, it's a gospel song, that it will come back to you. And the last thing I want to say is, if we seek to understand not only our peers, but our clients' problems, our clients' issues, our clients' needs, rather than selling, then we're better able to solve on the next conversation. And then as we go through our ecosystem, we're seeing solutions. And, Marvin and I were at an event earlier today, and immediately just from the conversations, I'm thinking about opportunities for others, problems, are solutions in the room that are for others. And I think that's something oftentimes underlooked. Thanks for the opportunity.
You guys are so super amazing. Have you guys ever had a situation where you knew that you were in the right spot with the right people, but you just
we lost you a little bit on that one, Coach.
I think he's trying to say because you couldn't get in, right? You've seen the opportunity, but you need access or opportunity. Go ahead, pitch back over to you.
Basically, you might have been in the right place at the right moment, but you couldn't put the right words together. You couldn't put the right opportunity together. You couldn't share what you needed to share to be relevant in that space. I know there's stories of people who've had, I hear it all the time. People go, I had the right people in front of me, but I didn't know what to say. I kept, repeating the same thing over and over again. Classic example is when somebody will say, you ask them what they do, and they'll go, I am a director of so-and-so company. I asked you what you do. I didn't ask you what your title was. And there's your opportunity right there to show up and say, here's what I do, and here's who I do it for at a high level. Here's the benefit that I offer, it's much easier. If I introduce myself as I'm Coach Powell Training and Development, that's great, right? But it's better if I say, I help entrepreneurs and business leaders focus on developing.
I think we lost Coach.
Just a difference in quality. There's just a difference in the quality when you are saying and moving in the right spaces in the right way. If you're in the right space, but you're not the right person, or you're not showing up as the right person, you can't get any of the benefits. It's going to be a waste of your time, or people are going to misread your intentions. It's like, what are you doing? So you got to show up authentically. You got to show up ready to really, really receive what is out there for you.
And I want to add to a key word there that you mentioned that I think has pure gold in it, Coach, and that is readiness, right? Yeah. Oftentimes we're so focused on the procurement readiness, but we have to be focused on our network readiness, right? Our opportunity readiness. And what I mean by that is opportunity readiness means I'm so laser focused on my client, their issues, their needs, that when the time comes, I've done the market research, I understand their needs to a level and a degree that when I can speak to them on the spot, because I'm not trying to serve everybody. I'm just trying to serve those who I am intended to serve.
Yeah. I also think it's, definitely being prepared and ready, standing in your strength, knowing what you bring to the table. Don't second guess yourself. Understanding what your unique value is. And some of that is just practicing the conversations with people who are not maybe intimidating to you, that, they may be a mentor to you. I think everybody should have a coach. I think everybody should have somebody that's in their ear that they can have, just conversations with, that they can't have these conversations with other people, but those conversations help you get ready all the time. Absolutely. And I tell companies all the time that you're going back to something that Daniel said earlier about, not sharing certain information. Well, I believe, honestly, from a finance perspective, that your business should be conversational with the right people. Don't hold back. You've got to get it out, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not prepared to go into these spaces with all the right people saying all the right things, then you're gonna falter, right? So you just have to have that ear, that mentor, that open conversation about certain things, so you can be ready to step in those rooms and not have those mistakes.
Lisa, what you just said is pure gold, because people often don't understand that if you're not so practiced and you're not so ready that you can have conversation about even the most complex aspects of your business and what you do with the right people, then you're going to show up as a person who doesn't seem to be competent.
Yep.
Right. And if you can't speak with confidence and authority about what you bring to the table and what the real benefits are to why you even talking about that thing, then people are going to assume that you're incompetent. Even if you're the most competent person in the room, it's not going to help you if you can't articulate. So practicing in a safe space, which is.
I used to work for a lady many, many years ago, and she told me early on in my career that everybody that comes into the room has a purpose and a value. You cannot sit at the table and say nothing. You've got to say something. You've got to add value to the conversation. And that's something that I learned early in my career. And so I know that every time if I go into a room surrounded by people and I say nothing, yes, it is exactly what you said. I lose credibility. People wonder, why are you even here? No, I don't want anybody to ask the question, why are you here? I want to add to the conversation. And then they say, instead of why are you here, Why weren't you here earlier? That's what I want.
There you go. Ooh, that's a good litmus test. I'm gonna write that down. Why weren't you here earlier? Those of you who are right, I'm gonna write that down too, because you have to ask yourself the question: what do you want out of that opportunity?
Yeah.
How do you want people to feel, as a result of you showing up? Because if you're not thinking about that and you're not figuring out ways to generate that, then you're probably not. It's probably not going to happen. I want people to feel like, oh my God, where was I before I met this guy? What was I thinking before he came into my life? I want that to happen. And so I have pre-programmed strategies and techniques to create that opportunity with the right people. Right? I have to say that enough. Everybody is not
I think everyone is always afraid of rejection. So you always have to be prepared for the no, and understand that no in the customer's mind or in people's mind is safety. But what you're doing is you're taking them from the branch and you're putting them in a truck that has a lift, and we're taking you out of this particular challenge that you don't really know that you're in, but you were afraid. So we're gonna know that you want to tell me no because you believe that you're safe, but these products that I'm offering you is what's going to really make you safe.
Right.
So I think that's another thing, that when you get in these big rooms, you're just kind of intimidated because it's a whole room full of no's. But when you start talking, it's just like you all were mentioning earlier, is that somebody in there is going, man, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly where I need to go,
And
and getting in
Daniel,
front of.
a lot of times that happens because you are more focused on what their need is instead of you being focused on giving them, pushing the product that you have.
Right.
When you listen to what other people are saying and you start to engage in conversation instead of just pushing, products or services, they tend to kind of lean back. You got to watch body language too in the room, right?
Being self-aware, being aware of how you're being perceived and the information you're sharing is so key. So key. And I like what you said. Oftentimes we're so worried about me instead of we, right? And this is part of what we talked about this morning, is the strategic partnerships with your clients is about we. And the core of that is their mission need, not yours. And then when you serve their mission need, your needs will be served. And I think that's the how companies get it twisted around, is that they're focusing on themselves rather than the need of the customer and serving that in the way that they want. Right?
Yep.
In the way that they want.
So guys, I got to end the show because I'm getting to the time limit where I can't share the show if I keep it going. But I probably don't want to share this show anyway because it's gonna have some internet.
That's right, man.
That's right.
There's some nuggets here.
Absolutely.
If nothing else, what people have learned is to power through difficulties, and that this information was so important, and that you cared so much about the people that are listening to you, that you wanted them to hear this. And especially when they have Michelle and Lisa on here and getting the opportunity to get in front of these guys, man, you're just not. And I don't want to take over the whole show, but if you all are not contacting Michelle and Lisa, you're absolutely missing out. Phenomenal people. I'm all about money. I love money. I don't think anybody can do business without money. I'm just the money guy. But behind all of that, you need techniques, you need systems, you need structure, you need all of that. And these two beautiful people bring that to you in spades. So that's all I can say. It's just wonderful.
Oh,
thank
you, Coach, for having us here today.
Thank you. And I'll put you guys backstage. Don't go anywhere because I'm going to close out with you. I got some stuff I want to talk to you guys about. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. That's Coffee, Tea, You and Me. Every single week, I try to bring you the most talented, the sharpest, brightest minds. We try to put together a conversation that you can engage with and deal with. I hope I didn't get a chance to get to any questions today, but don't worry about that. If you have a question, put that information in the chat And we might get to that question a little later on. Even if I don't get to the question, you might be surprised who in the universe might be willing to answer your question. So don't let your question go unasked, even if it has to do with something else. Go back and look at the previous episodes that we're talking about, because we're going through the whole 9 steps process over the next couple of weeks. We started with, learning to listen, and with that, seeing where that goes for you. Then we started with, knowing how to make promises and how to deliver on those promises, how to follow up. These are key things that you cannot do without, because you can't get to connection and all this valuable stuff that we talked about later on, we will talk about in the future, if you don't do the first 3 steps first. Because if you try to go up, it's like crawling up a ladder, right? If you go up a ladder, you're skipping too many rungs, you're going to have an accident. I don't want you to have a relationship accident. I want you to be what Michelle said earlier. I want you to have a return on your relationship. I want you to be able to maximize your relationship so that you're making the right situations in the making the right things happen at the right time with the right people. Okay, having said that, we're going to close out today. For those of you all who haven't seen the show before, please share, please log on, please listen. This might not have been the greatest show to do all that, but do it anyway, because you never know who might need that information, even if they have to struggle through the internet problems and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we're going to end the show, and I'm going to sign off. I'll see you guys later on.